Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of AEW Dynamite as well as WWE NXT. Happy April Fool's Day. I promise you guys that there will be no April Fool's jokes. Everything I say is on the up and up. Tom McCarthy with a $2 super chat. First one of the evening. He says, "You see that turf at AEW? Looked like a soccer field." Yes, let's go ahead and get started with the AEW recap, and then I will talk about NXT. So tonight's AEW was in a new venue. They can no longer do shows at Daly's Place in Jacksonville. I know that in the city of Jacksonville, they are doing coronavirus testing near the venue, and that appears to be a factor in the decision to not have AEW run at Daly's Place. That's unfortunate. The new venue looked okay. It looked like a very small warehouse type facility. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, "The real April Fool is EC3 because he is a joke." Oh man. Even on the AEW and NXT live streams, EC3 still gets to be the butt end of the jokes from Psycho Jet Black, but thank you for that. Now, I'm not sure which location AEW used. There are a few rumors. One rumor was the Jacksonville Jaguars indoor training facility, and then another rumor was the Nightmare Factory in Georgia, which might be the more likely candidate for where AEW was held tonight. Anyways, we had Tony Schiavone start the show off with Cody Rhodes, who was doing commentary for the first half of the show. We had Pharaoh, Cody's dog, there. And we had the talents back at ringside. We had some heels on one side. Britt Baker was there and a few others. And over on the other side, we had the Gun Club and a few others. I was glad to see the talents back at ringside for this week's show. So I guess moving away from Daly's Place is a positive for that reason alone. It's not much, but I think having some people there at ringside making a little bit of noise, it adds a little bit of a soundtrack to what's going on during the show. And to me, even that is a bit of a positive. Curtis Butler says, "No notification for this one. YouTube is BS." Yeah, I've heard a lot of people are having this issue with the subscriptions. And like I said, you guys should make sure you turn on the notification bell to get updates. I'm not sure if that helps, but apparently it does to some degree. And of course, you guys know that after the shows, I'm on YouTube. You can find the direct link on NoDQ's social media. I plug it on NoDQ.com, Facebook, Twitter. I try to make sure it's very clear what's going on with the live streams. Thank you guys for watching, and I do appreciate it. And please keep spreading the word. We had our first match. And by the way, before I get to the first match, let me just say real quick, we got the TNT Title tournament. I'm not sure I've talked about this before, but we do have a new championship in AEW, the TNT Championship, which is basically a TV title. And we have a tournament to crown the first champion. A series of matches will take place over the next several weeks. Cody Rhodes will be facing Shawn Spears, Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara, Dustin Rhodes versus Kip Sabian, and Lance Archer versus Boom Boom Colt Cabana. If I had to take a wild guess, I would say it's going to be Cody Rhodes and Lance Archer in the finals. I would be surprised if it was something else. But then again, people thought the Young Bucks were going to go all the way in the tag team title tournament, and they did not. However, looking at this bracket, I think it's got to be Cody versus Lance in the finals. Lance has to make the finals, right? Unless he pulls an Undertaker from 1990 and gets himself DQ'd or something like that. We had our first match, which was Trent versus Kenny Omega. And we had Dasha Gonzalez back on AEW doing the announcing. Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor were out there to support Trent. So we had quite a few people at ringside. We had a good dozen people out there, people at ringside, the guys backing up Trent, the best friends. We had some brawling, pretty lengthy match between these guys. They brawled on the outside for a while. There was a post. I'm not sure if it was a soccer post or what it was, but there was this post on the outside of the ring, and guys were doing spots with the post during the show, which I thought was pretty cool. Omega powerbombed Trent onto the post, and then they got back into the ring. Trent gave it a good fight. He almost had Omega beat at one point, but then Omega came back, and 19 minutes into the match, with just 1 minute to go, Kenny Omega hit the one-winged angel and picked up the victory. After the match, Kenny showed some sportsmanship and shaked the hand of a very game Trent. Good opening match to start off the show, and I like that they did a 19-minute match to make it competitive and make Trent look good in defeat. Solid stuff here from AEW, as is the norm. We had a recap of the Matt Hardy and Chris Jericho segment from last week's show. We had a Hikaru Shida video package, and then she fought Anna Jay, and that's with 2 Ys. Pretty much a showcase match for Shida. We did have Britt Baker at ringside, and she was taunting Shida. Shida picked up the victory, and then after the match, she went to the outside and had some words with Britt. I like we got some storyline development here. I liked that. We had a recap of Jake Hager taking out Jon Moxley on last night's edition of AEW Dark. And then we had a video package with interviews from Hager and Moxley. There was footage shown from Bellator of Hager winning his fights. Hager talked about wanting to inflict pain onto Moxley, and Moxley admitting that he does know what Hager is capable of, but he's not afraid of him. Jericho was part of the video package. He was interviewed. He said he's not going to use his rematch clause yet. He wants to give Hager a chance to pick up a win for the Inner Circle. And then it was announced that in 2 weeks, there will be a no-holds-barred match between Hager and Moxley. Should be a pretty fun match between those two. They build it as an empty arena match, even though, well, aren't they all empty arena matches? But still, I'm guessing it'll be just a wild fight all over the building. Should be fun. We had Colt Cabana come out on commentary for the second half of the show. We had Lance Archer making his AEW Dynamite in-ring debut against Mr. Fun Size Marco Stunt. There was a Jake Roberts video promo before the match. Mentioned that he wasn't sure who wore the pants in the family. Maybe it was Brandy Rhodes. Basically, this was a squash match. And I'm sure Robbie Vice from Team No DQ loved it. And quite frankly, this is what should be done with Marco Stunt. Marco Stunt is there to make other guys look good. And Lance Archer, the guy is already a very physically intimidating looking person. But when you have Marco Stunt out there standing next to him, it just makes Lance look even more like this Godzilla-like creature. And Colt Cabana talked about on commentary about how Lance was exiled from America and had to wrestle in Japan for several years. I like that. Lance just beat the crap out of poor Marco Stunt, hit him with a pounce, had the match won at one point, but then lifted up Marco at 2. Then he hit his finisher, the Blackout Slam, which was like a reverse razor's edge turned into a slam. And then after the match, Lance continued to beat down Marco. He picked up Marco and then literally tossed him like a baby all the way past the barricade onto the baby faces, the Gun Club. Pretty cool post-match beatdown. So far, so good with Lance Archer. Nice debut from him. We had another Brodie Lee video. He was in this office. There was a TV behind him, which was just static. He talked about how these are trying times, and at one point he felt lost, but he was back. He came back from being beaten down. He's the exalted one now. And not only that, but he is Mr. Brodie. And he is Mr., should I say it, YouTube? Mr. effing Brodie, but it was bleeped out on AEW Dynamite, so I will censor myself here. One of the guys from the Dark Order, there were a couple guys there with masks. One of them started to yawn, and Brodie was not amused by this. He said he does not appreciate a guy yawning, says it's a sign of weakness. I guess this was another reference to Vince McMahon, not liking when people sneeze, not liking when people yawn. And Brodie was wearing the suit, so I guess the Mr. McMahon parody continues with Brodie Lee. Nelson Moreno with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, another McMahon jab. Yeah, I like it. I think it's entertaining. I know some people are like, oh, they're just ripping off WWE and making references to WWE, yada, yada, yada. But I'm enjoying it. I like it. We had a match between the Natural Nightmares, Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. Brandy Rhodes was with them against Dark Order members 8 and 9. The babyfaces picked up the win with a double team flapjack, and then after the match, Brodie Lee came out, walked past the Nightmares, and got in the ring and powerbombed the guy. I'm not sure if it was 8 or 9. He powerbombed the guy that took the fall to send a message. He was not happy, and that was that. We had a Chris Jericho interview promo segment. He was sitting in a jacuzzi, apparently at his estate. He cut a promo on the Elite. He referred to Kenny Omega as a pumpkin-headed dipshit. And he referenced Cody Rhodes. He referenced Tiger King, the Netflix documentary, which I'm currently watching. And holy cow, what a train wreck that show is. And believe it or not, Joe Exotic, the guy who's the star of this documentary, he did commentary for the NWA a couple of years ago. If you're interested in checking that out, you can watch the video over on NoDQ.com. Hoof-Hearted with a $5 super chat says, I'm in the city where the streak ended for the COVID-19 emergency response. Where am I? I have no idea, Hoof-Hearted, but I do thank you for that super chat. I'm not sure what that's a reference to, unfortunately. We had Vanguard 1 fly into the location where Chris Jericho was at. Vanguard 1 just knows where to go for everything, it seems. Jericho was still cutting his promo as Vanguard was flying in. Vanguard, that's the term for when Vanguard flies in. He Vanguards. There, I just created a new term. Jericho said when the virus is done, and he actually said when the virus is done, that he will allow fans back into the arena, and then the Elite and the Inner Circle will do battle in the Blood and Guts match. Finally, Jericho saw Vanguard won. He saw Vanguard in, and Jericho knew Vanguard was coming. He grabbed a mini t-shirt, it looked like a infant-sized t-shirt, and handed the shirt over to Vanguard. He wanted an elbow from Vanguard to make it official. Vanguard won, joining the Inner Circle. However, Vanguard turned it down by flying away with the t-shirt. Jericho was very pissed about this, and he yelled out, "Release the hounds!" Reference to The Simpsons. And we had these little dogs running out, barking at Vanguard 1, and Jericho was angry, screaming that his t-shirt was stolen. I really enjoyed this segment. I know it's a bit over the top, but to me it's fun, and during this time, this is the kind of thing I think we need to be able to forget about what's going on in the world. So, thumbs up segment here. I was entertained by it. Good shit here, pal, as Vince McMahon might say. We had a Nick Jackson video package with footage being shown from the attack by the Inner Circle. Him and Matt were training to help Nick get back into shape for his return. And then we had our main event match, which was Sammy Guevara and Shawn Spears teaming up against Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin. Guevara was vlogging during the match, and Brandy Rhodes ended up jacking his phone at one point. Later on during the match, we had some gambling going on because they were gambling over the past 2 weeks, and they decided to do it during this match. They were taking bets how long each of them could hold up Darby Allin in a suplex. Spears was able to do it for 10 seconds because that's his thing. However, Guevara topped that, doing it for 16 seconds. Cody Rhodes got thrown over the barricade during the match, and then he was beat down by the heels at ringside. And then after the final commercial break, Darby Allin got the hot tag, did a spot with that post that was on the outside. He climbed the post and did the coffin drop onto the heels. And then back in the ring, a steel chair was going to be used on Cody Rhodes, but Allin prevented it from happening. However, we had Spears taking advantage of the situation and rolling up Allin to score the pinfall victory. After the match, Cody Rhodes tried to talk with Darby, who was very frustrated about the loss. And then Darby hauled off and punched Cody in the face and took off. So, is this a heel turn? Surprising to me because AEW's trying to make Darby like a modern-day Sting or a modern-day Jeff Hardy, bringing up the fans in the face paint. But this was a very heelish thing to do. Darby losing his cool. So, I'm a little perplexed by this angle. I guess with no fans in the arena, AEW can maybe go in a different direction for the time being. But yeah, that was a little bit of a weird ending for me. Shawn Spears finally wins a match on Dynamite. I mean, maybe he did win one recently, but to me, this is the first big win he's had in a while. Maybe he did win on Dark, but yeah, it's been a while since Shawn Spears has won a significant match on television. I guess part of the idea is that Darby just doesn't like losing, and that's his character, but I don't know. To me, it was weird. Overall, I did enjoy Dynamite. I love the Jericho and Vanguard stuff, and I thought the video packages were really strong, and it was a good mix. And overall, thumbs up show from AEW under the circumstances. So let's move on to NXT. We had our first match, which was the Velveteen Dream against Bobby Fish. By the way, the commentary team for this show, Tom Phillips and Sam Roberts. Wow. Sam Roberts. Nobody else was available for NXT commentary? Yeah. I mean, he was all right, but I mean, Mauro Ranallo is sorely missed. Sam Roberts is like scraping to the bottom of the barrel as far as WWE's pool of announcer talent. But we had this match. Dream picked up the victory with the Dream Valley Driver. After the match, he cut a brief promo. He told Adam Cole to put down the video games. Playtime is over, and Adam Cole is going to get worked harder than ever before. I'm guessing at some point over the next several weeks, we will get Adam Cole versus the Dream for the NXT Championship. That is, of course, if WWE taped the match. I mean, there's this whole thing right now about Florida on lockdown, stay-at-home order. Will WWE even be able to tape television in Florida later this month once all their taped matches have aired on television? Hopefully, WWE got a lot in. We had a Malcolm Bivens promo with his new tag team. I forgot their name. I guess the new name of the faction, it's Bivens Enterprise. The two guys talked in some language. I'm not even sure which language it was. And Bivens said the Broserweights are on notice. They are waiting for them. And that match will take place sometime down the line, probably not in the near future. We had Dexter Lumis versus Jake Atlas. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat room, but I think this was the first NXT TV appearance for both guys. I know Atlas for sure. Maybe Lumis. I did see both of these guys at the NXT Live event last month, which was one of the last events before everything got shut down. Dexter Lumis has this Stranger Things-like theme song and just a pretty creepy-looking guy. So he's got a good gimmick, and I like his music. Of course, he was Samuel Shaw back in Impact Wrestling. He picked up the victory via submission. We had a recap of the Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa brawl from several weeks ago at the Performance Center, the last show they had with a crowd. And it was announced that next week they will have their final match. One final beat is how they're referring to this match as. Then we had a gauntlet match to determine the number one contender, or not the number one contender, the final participant in the ladder match to determine the number one contender. Quite a mouthful there. Anyways, Shotzi Blackheart and Deonna Purrazzo were the first two participants. Shotzi picked up the victory, and she actually, I'm just going to make this quick, she eliminated pretty much everybody. She eliminated Xia Li next, and then she eliminated Aaliyah, and then she eliminated Kaden Carter. And then finally, Dakota Kai was the last participant in the match. And with a little bit of help from Raquel Gonzalez, Dakota Kai hit her Dakota kick to score the victory. I mean, to me, this was predictable. Dakota Kai was the only logical choice to win this match. So you do a gauntlet match. You guys know my thoughts on the gauntlet matches. I'm not really a fan of them. I think it's just a way to drag out a show and just have filler. I would have preferred just a six-pack challenge, one fall to a finish, but whatever. Dakota Kai's in the ladder match next week, and, you know, at least Shotzi got to look good here. She beat all those people before finally losing to the heel. So if you're going to do a gauntlet match, this was the way to do it, to make the loser look good, and then, of course, put over the heel in the end. We had a Charlotte and Rhea Ripley video package. Pretty much just filler. Mostly the same stuff we've seen over the last several weeks. Then we had Kushida versus Joaquin Wilde. Cruiserweight action here on NXT. Kushida picked up the victory, shook Wilde's hand after the match. Wilde was interviewed after the match. He was frustrated about his loss. He's just not making any kind of impact in NXT so far. Then we had a car drive up, and these masked guys, not the Dark Order, but these guys wearing masks, basically forced him into a car, abducted him, and then they took off. Then we had our triple threat main event. We had Keith Lee defending the North American title against Dominik Dijakovic and Damian Priest. And WWE had the NXT TakeOver Tampa logo on the screen. So yes, this was one of the matches that was supposed to be part of TakeOver Tampa. Pretty solid match between these three. I think it would have been better if we had a live crowd reacting to it, but it was still really good stuff between these three. Very solid big man triple threat match. All three got their moments. There was one point where Dominik and Damian hit each other with kicks, and then they both fell down onto Lee. Double pin, but Lee kicked out of it. Damian then grabbed his baton and went to strike Dominik with it, but Dominik managed to duck. However, during this back and forth, Dominik did get hit in the knee with the baton. Keith Lee knocked Damian out of the ring and then hit the jackhammer to pin Dominik and retain his North American Championship. So Dominik looking strong in defeat because he got hit with the baton. And of course, in a triple threat, there are no DQs. So maybe at some point, Dominik will get one more match with Keith Lee. Maybe, maybe not, but that option is certainly open with the finish of this match. Overall, pretty decent show from NXT. I would say AEW was stronger. I liked the video packages on AEW. Probably the best match of either show was the NXT main event, the triple threat. But I think overall, AEW had a more entertaining show from start to finish. The game is on 100 with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. He says, what are your thoughts on the Florida statewide stay-in-home order today to affect WWE and AEW shows till April 30th? It will impact AEW and then WWE due to the tape library. I'm not sure what WWE is going to do. I mean, if it's true that AEW was taped in Georgia for this show, then unless Georgia has a similar ban, AEW could theoretically run at this new venue until they're able to run arenas again. As for WWE, I mean, there is the possibility WWE could take a hiatus, do an off season for a month or two, or however long it takes until things get back to normal. Or Vince could be stubborn, and I feel like that's more likely. WWE will find another place to tape shows. Maybe they'll do it in Stamford, Connecticut at the WWE headquarters. They'll use a warehouse, have a ring there, and do matches there. I know WWE taped several weeks of television, but not that much, not through April 30th to my knowledge. I believe as of the SmackDown after WrestleMania, they're going to need a new location to film television. They might have more weeks in the can for NXT, but at least for SmackDown and Raw, they're going to need to come up with something. They do have, what's funny is they taped the post-WrestleMania Raw, so that's done, but they don't have SmackDown. I mean, I think they're going to try to keep things going. Like, I don't see WWE going into an off season. I think they're going to try to keep some first run television for as long as possible. under the circumstances and just try to ride the storm until things start to look good again. WWE's looking beyond the gray sky. And they'll just continue to do their bare bones studio show. And maybe I'm sure they'll continue to do the matches from the past, open up the vault, even though the numbers are dropping. Raw fell under 2 million this week, and I'm not surprised at all, because as soon as I see a match that I can watch on the WWE Network anytime, I'm like, I'm going to go do something else. I was actually just walking around in my place here, just trying to get a little bit of exercise. Figured I might as well do that while the old match is being shown on television. I mean, I watched a little bit of it, but I was just focused on other stuff, browsing Twitter and that sort of thing. So I can imagine a lot of people that are watching Raw and SmackDown, they see an old match. A lot of them are just going to be like, well, I can watch this on the network. And speaking of that, I mean, there's this whole deal now to air the WrestleMania pay-per-view and charge $60 for it. I guess there's some people out there that don't have the technological ability to get the WWE Network and will spend $60 on a pay-per-view. But yeah, it's kind of weird, because for 6 years now we've had the network, and it surprises me a little bit that people still buy the pay-per-views. It's a small amount, but there are people out there that still buy the pay-per-views. And I guess there are people that will still tune in to see the old matches. So anyways, guys, that's all I got for AEW and NXT. Make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest news and rumors regarding WrestleMania and AEW. And stay tuned to the NoDQ YouTube channel. Tune in Friday night for the final live stream before WrestleMania. And then coming up Saturday night and Sunday night, I will be doing live streams, post-WrestleMania live streams, both nights. I'm not going to do one stream for both shows. I will be going live twice, Saturday night and Sunday night. Please spread the word. Tell a friend. If you have a friend who watches wrestling, have them check out this video and check out the channel. Thank you guys again. I really appreciate your continued support, and I hope I'm able to give you guys some additional entertainment in these trying times. Be safe, everyone. Take care of yourself and your family, and I will see you guys next time.